Alright, so I told you guys that I would teach you about different textures that you could start to add to your castles and towers today. I'm going to go through a lot, but I want you to remember that the ones that I'm showing you, there's so many more you can do, and the tools that I use you don't necessarily have to use. You can use whatever tools work best for you. A lot of people like to use these plastic ones, while other people really like to use these metal ones better. So it's completely up to you on what works best when you try it. So the first one I'm going to show you is grass. All you really have to do for grass is put some different hash marks in there. You could do a lot of short ones. You could do longer ones. If you want to go different directions, you could do that as well, or if you want to do, see what it looks like this way. And again, just do some experimenting. You can try something, and if you don't like it, you can always just smooth it out. So again, that would be kind of a fun texture, and once you put the paint on it, it would show a lot more too. Okay, something else that you could do would be bushes that we kind of talked about, or little shrubs. And the way I like to do this, or that I learned, is ripping little pieces. Gotta get our slip. Putting the little pieces in your hand and sprinkling some water on it. And again, this water acts as our slip. And then carefully rolling it together. And again, if we're going to attach it to our surface, we have to slip and score. So I'm going to scratch that up. A little bush up. And then to press it on a little bit more, I'm going to use the end of this. Kind of make sure it gets squished on there. And again, this is not the way you have to do it. I'm just showing you different ways to do these things. Okay? So some sort of bush, trees. A lot of you are going to do sort of a vine texture, or putting vines on your old castles or buildings. So I'm just going to kind of draw it out first. So if I want it to be like that across my building, I can take clay and roll it out like a snake, like we've talked about. Kind of fit it right on that spot there. And by creating that line, it can be kind of like our score line. Score our surface a little bit. Put this on here. And then I had those two little tails coming off, so I'll do that as well. During class today, I'll have this video going over and over, so you can look at it again if you would like. Again, you don't have to use any of these textures. You can make up your own if you would like. So again, getting some vines on there. Again, if you wanted a texture on top of that, you could do that as well. If you wanted little flowers or little leaves coming off of it, could do that. Okay, so adding little vines. A lot of you were asking me about water. You could just kind of take your fingers in some water and slowly pinch up the clay to get like a wave kind of look. Okay, you could also try one of these curved tools, kind of pulling up the clay too. Again, remember, you need to have at least 10 textures on your final project. So again, some sort of water-like. That would work if you're doing a moat or having an ocean at all. This is one that a lot of students really like. It's almost like having plaster or some sort of crack in the side of your building. Almost like a peek hole. So what I can do is kind of carve out this inside area. Again, like a crack in the wall. I'm going to fill this with bricks, like there's bricks showing through. Smooth out that texture a little bit. Put my brick lines in there. And again, like a hole in the wall or a crack in the wall. A lot of students really like that one. Okay, if you're just gonna do a brick texture, again, no certain way to do that. A lot of different ways you could do that. I'm gonna use this tool here. Just get my lines going across. If there's some walls you haven't built yet, you could do this before you also build your tower if you want to do that. Sometimes that's easier for students. Now when I do the next row, I want to do the opposite one. So I'll do this one here, and again the opposite. Got a brick texture there. Again, you can make up your own textures. You don't have to use any of these ones that I'm doing for you. You could totally make up your own. Using the end of a brush or any rounded tip thing. You could do this for a path. You could do it for the side of the building. If you have like a metal drawbridge, this would work really well. Again, another texture that you could do. Some students were already trying this, but if you have a path that you're gonna make, something fun that you can do instead of just carving into the clay would be to make like a stone path. So taking some little pieces of clay here and kind of rolling them up. Scratched our surface and putting them on here. Patting them down just a little bit. We'll kind of fill this area. Also, if you have any rubble or rock piles, you could kind of make some of these a little bit bigger and put them on there as well. Kind of fill out a whole path or a whole rock pile with them. Could do smaller ones. Show you a completed one too. Okay, so again, you could do that on a whole path. You could do it on the side of a building, a rock pile on the side, but that's a fun texture as well. Shingles, if you have a roof at all, something that you can do is take one of these rounded tools here and just pull up the clay in kind of like an ordered fashion so it looks like little shingles popping up. And again, some of these I'm just making up as I go. There's not a certain way you have to do these things. You don't have to use any of these textures, but again, you have to have 10 on your final. So just some different ideas for you. And again, try your own. There's a bunch of different tools that you can play with. Alright, so that's a lot of different ones that you could do. Going along with the brick one, the last one I'll show you is maybe, instead of having it so even, doing some uneven bricks. So, kind of putting these lines in our clay again, the lines that go across. Maybe we'll have some bigger bricks, some smaller bricks. Maybe we'll cut some in between. Again, just play with it. There's no right or wrong way you can do this. But again, between this and the brick texture, they would be different, so it would count as two different textures. There doesn't have to be any certain way because you're building your own structure. So again, a little bit more, same way to do the brick, but a little bit different. Okay, so showing you all the different textures that we did again. Again, you don't have to use any of these if you don't want to. There's no really right or wrong way to do it. Right, we got bushes, shingles, grass, a stone path, uneven brick, vines, water, and then the crack or the hole in the wall, which again, this one's really fun and students really like to do this one a lot.